Now, for many of us, our next guest has been responsible for the soundtrack of the 70s and 80s, signing acts like Blondie, Spandau Ballet and Sinead O'Connor. Chris Wright created independent label Chrysalis almost 50 years ago, sold it to a big industry player and is now back at the helm as Chrysalis is reborn as an independent.
He co-founded the company in 1968 with Terry Ellis in a student basement flat. In 1991, Chrysalis was then sold to EMI, and he then set up a radio and TV business which included Heart, that's radio stations, and Galaxy, and diversified into TV, making Midsummer Murders among others and covering Formula One.
Now, nearly 50 years after his first signing, Chris is back in charge after the acquisition of Chrysalis Music by Blue Raincoat Music.
So much to talk about. He's with us in the studio. Welcome to Business Live,
morning,
Chris.
good morning.
Good to have you here. It's such a shame we've only got 3 or 4 minutes. But you decided to come back as chairman of Chrysalis. Was it last year?
Yes, last year.
Do you mind me mentioning your age? 71?
72,
When you,
sorry, 72.
When you decided you were going to sort of go into a nice semi-retirement. Why did you come back?
Well, I never really fully retired. I was just unemployed.
OK, fair enough. But
And
you couldn't
I'm now-
resist it. Was it an offer you couldn't resist?
Well, of course, yes. I mean, it was put together by Jeremy Lascelles, who used to work for me at Chrysalis, and Robin Miller. The opportunity was there, and absolutely, why not? You know, it's not very often you get the opportunity to buy back a company that you formed, had for 30 years and sold 20 years ago.
Now, Chris, you have been working in the music industry since the 60s when you were entertainment officer for the student union at Manchester University.
Yes.
I mean, how has the music industry changed since those days, from the heady days of, you know, when you're making all your money through selling albums, selling singles, then we have digital. How has the industry changed?
Well, it's changed so much. It's hard to even remember the days that we started in. You know, it was almost, you know, in the days of 78, RPM singles before 45s. It's that long ago. And I'm talking a language that most people today would have no concept of what it was really like. But, I mean, the big change is that we used to sell records. You know, they were things that you put on a turntable and played, and they morphed into both tapes and CDs. And now the whole thing's morphed into the fact that you listen to what you want to listen to by just streaming it.
Do you think something's been lost? I mean, was it more fun back then? Was it more about the music and less about the money and volume?
Yeah, well, I think that applies to a lot of industries, you know, that it was more about the product, and now it's, you know, so sophisticated and it's more about the bottom line. But yes, and also, you know, in those days, music was like everything to people. If you were a young kid, the only thing that mattered in your life was having the new record by whoever it was that you were particularly in love with.
If you're a young kid today, you want to be on the X Factor or something like
Well,
that, and today's stars are found like that, as opposed to you discovering the likes of Spandau Ballet and Blondie and not Bowie.
Well, the X Factor, on the whole, they're different kind of people. I mean, the X Factor artists, and okay, 1 or 2 come good, and you know, you can't knock the success that One Direction have had, for example. But most of them, you know, you haven't heard of a year or 2 later, but none of them are people that write their own songs. You know, they're not like, you know, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or the Bob Dylans or the Paul Simons of this world. They wouldn't get on the X Factor because they wouldn't be allowed to sing the songs that they're writing, and so they're not really developing careers, but they're entertaining the masses, and you know, that's part of the equation.
So you're back in charge now. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve?
First thing we're doing is we're trying to, you know, re-evaluate the catalogue. We bought most of the old records back, not all, because it's quite complicated, but a lot of the old catalogue. We need to, you know, just make sure that we reinvigorate that and get, you know, the names of the artists back in the public's minds. And there's a lot of people there that people are still interested in. Catalogue and old artists sell very well now, and streaming makes it so much easier, because if you want to buy a record that came out, say, 40 years ago, you might not get it in a record store easily, but you can get everything on the streaming sites, boom, and you listen to it. And you've got no delivery charges, no manufacturing costs. It's a different kind of industry now.
Now, we've got to get you to clarify the situation with Mr. David Bowie, because it's reported often that you guys listened and thought, nah, one-hit wonder, but that apparently is fake news.
Well, it is in a way. He was a bit of a one-hit wonder because he had a very big hit with Space Oddity, and then he'd disappeared off the scene. We signed him as a songwriter to our burgeoning music publishing company. He made a record, which was the Hunky Dory album, which was actually a brilliant album. My ex-partner, who, to his credit, was fundamentally responsible for signing Blondie, did listen to the David Bowie Hunky Dory album, didn't like it. I happened to be in the States at the time. He said, "Oh, I've heard the Bowie album, no good, we're not signing it." I said, "Okay." I came back from the States and listened to it, and I thought, big mistake, Terry. And
it was.
And it
It
was.
was.
But we did have him signed to us as a songwriter, so it wasn't like we were totally not involved in his career, because we were.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in. Really interesting
You're
to hear. We
welcome.
couldn't
Chris,
talk to you more.
come back and we'll get half an
I'd
hour.
love
or
to.
something.
Instalment.
I'd
We'd
love
love
to.
it. Thanks so much, Chris.
Okay,
Lovely
you're
to meet
welcome.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.